this is your Monday parenting, all shit parenting and relationships. I was going to say, I almost finished my book on relationships. Minds are fucked up. Relationships are fucked up. People in relationships together are fucked up.
Or intricate, complicated and interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's very
everything in life is complicated. Just think about us as humans being alive.
If you couple up with someone, that's a complicated process. It's so much more complicated than you ever think it is.
It's crazy when you that so many people do it. I know.
When you actually begin to break down, because I tell my kids so often, human behavior, human science, it's in a textbook. Like, it is in a textbook. People learn it. They even know who a psychopath is. They know based on so many X factors what behavior. So if a psychopath or a sexual predator starts here, they get concerned because they most likely know where it's going to go, because usually they start in this place and they graduate on and on. Like,
nobody's that unique.
I was like, people who go into therapy or who are therapists are not psychic. They're not. It's a skill set. And you learn it. So what your behavior is here.
Textbook.
It's sadly textbook. It's also kind of cool textbook because humans think they're so unique. No one's that unique.
No, because they're just literally like a creation from a computer, and you become one of those characters.
You're getting so.
I've always thought that.
No, more and more.
No, but I've always thought.
No,
that.
But you're getting so more and more conspiracy theory. Like aliens.
No. Conspiracy theory is not aliens. Aliens are real, Catherine.
And like all the
you know they're real, right?
You're gonna have so much fun in conspiracy.
You know they're real.
I mean, they're not here, so that's fine. They're not living in my life. Sure, maybe.
No, not maybe.
Well, they're not here.
No, they're not here, but they're.
I mean, maybe
they're real.
They're not part of our lives yet.
Well, the government knows they are.
Well, when they are, we'll talk about it. But until then, I'm like, okay.
I know. I'm like, I want to go for a ride. I want to go see what you guys got. Like, I'm not afraid to be taken by them.
No, maybe you can be your first one. Like, maybe you can report. Maybe you can bring a GoPro.
I would not be the first one. Lots of people have gone and reported back.
Is there a GoPro?
No.
Oh no,
their
no
technology
cameras.
is so deep that, like, you know how we can't delete anything? Like, you know, when you go like past searches that have been deleted, their technology is so good, nothing would be found.
See, here's what's so crazy about the book I'm reading is you in your human mind. Listen, I'll let you believe that aliens are here to stay and do the thing.
I didn't say they're here to stay. I'm saying they're real.
They're not here,
but they're real.
Sure. Yes. Okay. So are unicorns. They're not. They're not here.
Unicorns are not real.
They're here. Nothing's here. If it's not here, it's not here.
If it's not
if you
here,
can't
it's
bring
not
it
real?
over for dinner. I'm not. It's a mute point. If it's not, sure. They're real. Okay.
Question on mute point.
Yeah.
Is it moot point?
Maybe.
But how's it spelled? Okay.
So your mind can actually, like factually, create a narration. I don't even know if that's the right word. A narrative that it believes so hardcore that it begins to act that way, and it's your fact. It's your actual fact, even though it might not be your fact.
Yeah.
And then you're like living your fact, and then they have their fact. And there's no one to dispute the fact because your brain is like, this is my fact. And then your brain is so smart that it goes back into patterns and behaviors from before you were able to create patterns and behaviors, like to understand what you were doing based on being a child watching the world and how you should act in the world. You've created pathways on how you're going to show up in your current relationship.
You know, it's a good example of a storyline that is true. No, which is not true, but they're convinced that it's true, but everyone knows it's not true. Is people,
aliens?
No, people that are anorexic and think they're fat.
Yeah, they're
convinced.
They are. That's body dysmorphia, where their brain, but it's also an addiction.
Yeah,
because they get dopamine
but
hits
they
from
believe
it.
So hard that it's the truth.
Yes, and they can see that they're not, but then they're like, no, but I can see that I am. But they don't look at themselves and see someone who's larger than them, but they see that they are too large for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like they're not actually seeing a different body. They just know that their body's too big for them. And just when you have a conversation in the relationship, the person's acting and they don't even know why they're acting because it was formed when they were a child of how they show up and act today based on the situation at home that they weren't able to digest because they were too young. But it created the whole way they're going to communicate and show up when they're old.
That makes sense.
I guess, but don't you think we should learn this in school where you learn how you act so you can show up and not be a dickbag or not be understand yourself better? So when you show up in the world, you're not like it's not just your way or the highway.
There'll be people that are like that, and then there'll be people who aren't.
But but we could have such a better working world if people understood their own shit and showed up in the world. I was like, there are so many people who just can't see anything different than their view, but they've never understood that there could be another person's view. There is always someone else's view based on their experience. And doesn't mean your view's right. It just means that was your experience based on your view. When I look at relationships and when I look at therapists, basically you're someone who lets someone talk about what they're feeling, and then you can challenge it based on if they want to change their behavior because they're having problems.
Right. If they want to change it.
If they're having problems within a certain part of their life. And so often people want to be like, it's not me, it's them. Right? It's this person. I'm having a problem because of them. But then you're like, wow. You both are a problem. So you both have to work on that problem. And then you put two people together with that conversation. And then you are going to teach your kid. Then your kids are going to have the same things. When they grow up, they're going to make their own assessments of what's right or wrong. I just think that is so weird that you have a second part of your brain that's creating who you are without you even being aware of who you are based on what you're watching in your world. And then you show up and then you're just like, this is how it is. But it's not actually that way. It's just based on that way because of your experience.
I mean, it's like everything though. It's like your taste in things, your appreciation for things, you're like.
But do you think cilantro is really something I think that's you're born with or
I
not?
don't mean taste in that. Like, I mean, just that we are products of where we came from.
I know.
But that makes sense.
It does until you grow up and then you have to sleep with somebody and raise children with someone. And then you have to communicate with them all day and raise more people with them and then run a life with them and then run a budget with them and then run a credit card with them. And then
there's so many details of every single topic. Like there would be so many things.
Like how lazy you are towards talking about money, let's just say. How you view when dinner should be, anything. But you just decide, I'm going to marry you without really knowing much. I just kind of like you.
I know.
I'm going to marry you.
It's the weirdest
thing. And then we're going to have children and we're going to manage their lives, not knowing how you grew up, knowing what it looked like, but really not like.
And very few people will sit down and like talk really in detail about how they're going to parent, their parenting styles, why they choose to do these
how
things.
They're going to manage conflict when it arises in their parenting style. How are you going to work through when your child wants this? Are you going to be like, what if your child comes out to you? Are you going to be mad or are you going to be supportive?
Things you think you don't need to discuss, but there's so many things.
Curfew. Are you going to let them, do they get a boyfriend or do they not? Because I hear some people are like, my mom knows I have a boyfriend. My dad would never let me have a boyfriend. So we just hide. There's just so many of these conversations. And then people just live together for their lives, Natalie. And then it just is sort of a mind fuck when you learn about the minds of what people believe and don't believe and why they believe it. Because I was like, and then you marry them. Because relationships.
And this has been going on since the beginning of time.
We're crazy.
And for a lot of, it's kind of, I mean, people, it's kind of working out.
Oh, they just get divorced. Now the divorces are so much easier. Or they have open relationships. And that's what's happening in the younger years now. Is they're really challenging this idea of what a relationship is. Because I believe, don't quote me here, pre-marriage, you lived in a pack and just kind of slept around. Right?
I don't think so.
Are cavemen real?
Yeah, I think so.
Like they have science of that?
Yeah.
They did not have a wife. No fucking chance. They did not have one. You would have one person? No way. They probably, no. They spread, no. No chance.
my daughter's doing a project on the endangered elephants in Kenya. And she was talking about, she had to look back at like where they came from and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, here's the thing. It was so long ago. Who cares? They don't even know.
It develops to where we are now.
They don't even know. They're still unpacking things.
Yeah, archaeologists.
Yeah. So it's so funny that like we're so interested in, it's just another job, but like so interested in like, who cares? But I do like,
because it predicts where we're going.
But we'll be dead by then. Like,
yeah, but they have to pass the notes on just like they did on the thing. We need to leave notes, cliff notes for everybody. So they have the cliff notes from this time. So people, it's like when you're a new mom and you leave, you have to leave notes so you know what's going on. We just need a few notes. Just give us.
But then pass it down. Got to pass it down.
Just pass a few notes on.
Pass down your tail.
Pass it down. Just pass down the notes. I'm just like, I look at things. I'm like, sis, we're all so basic and so weird.
Oh, I know. Oh,
I just think
God. I just think it's weird that men and women get together and then live together and like there's no training for it. The one thing that I had was before I got married, I went and I talked to like the guy in the church, but really he was like a normal just guy talking about relationships. And he was the only one who ever asked like about a particular categories. And have you two talked about that? Like that, it was the one time. And I was like, this is interesting, but I also have a wedding date booked. So now isn't the time to find out that like we're on a different page for
just
finances.
So we're like, this is
I'm
happening.
getting married no matter what.
Yeah,
so
I don't care if
I got to bring this guy into the country. So
this is happening. So let's just wrap this up. We can just land this plane. But in hindsight, it's like we should go back to that conversation.
Oh, he was actually talking about important shit.
Weren't interested though.
No,
we were just going to get married.
Wear?
No one tells you, if you're going to marry someone, do the shit. Do a course or something. Do the shit.
You know how people get so excited when like their kids get engaged? Like, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I'm like, is it so exciting?
I know.
Because I was thinking about one of my kids being like, oh, we're engaged. I'll be like,
it's just selfish because then you think then you're like, okay, now they can be taken care of.
I know.
And I don't mean like financially. I mean like now you're like, okay, now someone else has got like, I can stop worrying. I feel like marriage is a little bit like that when they marry someone, you're supposed to, as a parent, stop worrying.
Pass it off. That's why the dads pass off the women.
You can stop worrying about them.
But
oh, no,
really,
that's just, you're adding one more problem.
That's what I'm thinking. You get engaged. I'm like, oh, you're going to do that thing. Okay, well, all right. So here we go. Not like, yeah, this is going to be so the blissful of the marriage. And then they'll have, you're about to enter into the most challenging like concept ever.
My husband, he should have had great foresight into our life when I
didn't plan the wedding and didn't have a budget.
He would want me to go to like 3 or 4 vendors to get quotes. I was like, okay, one sold. I was like, did you negotiate? No, I was fucking booked. I'm not fucking going to. I liked him. We got along. We're moving on. Just like that person. I'm not. We had a good.
I think that's what's so great is that we didn't trick our husbands.
No, we had good energy. You had good energy.
Yeah.
That's what we had. You were so weird. Yeah, I was like, I don't want to go. I'm not going to spend my day going to get quotes. No, thank you. Next one. Done. I was like, he's like, I was done in 2 days. He's like, this is not done. And then he had to go and seating chart. I'm like, they can find their own seats. I'm not doing a seating chart. He did a seating chart. He's like, what about this? I'm like, I don't care about that. He's like, I'll do that. You care. I don't. You go crazy. I have no interest in looking at where people are going to sit, who RSVPs. I was like, I'm not looking at who RSVPs. They'll come, we'll put a seat up. They don't come, they don't come. I'm not going to count how many people are coming. He's like, you have to tell the people, the catering, how much they eat, the thing. I was like, this is terrible.
Did he pay for everything?
Weddings are terrible.
Like
the planning. Weddings are so fun.
But oh my God, I'll go to a party with an open bar any day.
Behind the scenes,
I haven't been to a wedding in so long.
I was like, so much work. It's terrible.
I know.
He was great at it. He did everything.
I mean, I thought it was pretty fun. I liked it.
Planning?
Yeah.
It was my worst nightmare.
Yeah, I was like, it was fun for me. I really liked that project.
No, I just get me an address, give me a martini bar, let's fucking go.
Yeah,
the
I
speeches
did everything.
Is like I was like, I hate speeches.
Oh God, yeah, no.
Make them funny. They were funny. They were great.
Oh, good.
Mine were funny fast.
I was
like, I'm not.
Nobody wants to listen to anyone talk.
No, I said also we're not doing this in between court. Like just if I can while they're eating, talk.
Yes, of course.
I'm not waiting. I'm not losing steam here.
Although I was telling someone I went to a Persian wedding. And I had never been to anything like that. And this Persian person was like, oh yeah, they're outrageous.
I went to one too.
I
I've been to
wasn't
two.
like that.
I can't remember. I mean, it's just, you know, when
it was
you're
the most memorable. It was like, there's no sit down time. It's constant, like get up and dance and party and then just go have some bites. Like there was like no sit down, and there was so many people, and it was just such a party because they all dance and they all
celebrate.
It was
Did
really
you
fun.
Did you
get drunk at my wedding? No.
No, not that. I was gonna say, there was like a wedding season where you would, like, when a time in our lives when you're at a wedding like every weekend.
I never had that.
Oh my God, we had so many weddings that I was like, they just began to blend into one.
I didn't.
I was like, oh,
I didn't have, like, I can honestly say I've been to less than 20 weddings. Like, I hear my siblings are always like wedding season. So we still have another like 15 weddings this year. I'm like, I don't have that many friends. A lot of my friends didn't get married.
My husband has not changed much.
My cousins didn't get, only one of them got married. Like, we don't, I have a lot of like non-traditional people in my life.
That's very true. That's very true. So as I was saying about teenagers and relationships, I wasn't saying, but I'll go back to teenagers and relationships. I feel like their relationships are going to be so different now because of how much they are aware of who they are as people. It's no longer just surface, because I feel like our kids at school do so much self-reflection work, and I feel like that's so complicated because they talk about themselves so much that then when they get into a relationship, they have expectations of what the relationship should be, because when we used to just go date people, I don't remember thinking how they should be different or what they should. It's just fun.
Am I attracted to you?
Yeah.
Let's go.
There was really no problems. And you just broke up. I don't even know why you broke up. Usually someone cheated on someone.
Yeah,
there was really no.
Yeah, someone else likes someone else.
There was no real conundrum. You just kind of like, we're done. It's over.
Yeah.
Like, it would just fizzle out. Just would stop talking or something.
Yeah. I mean, that was you and me. I'm just thinking right now about like your brothers and my siblings. I think they had deeper relationships.
One sibling did.
Oh.
The rest, but I think they just kind of broke up. Like, I don't think it was like, let's sit down and talk about our interests and our life. Like, I feel like you just dated them and then you just broke up. Like, nothing lasted. If it was serious, it was like 4 or 5 months. But it was mostly crushes. And
so fun. You know, that's like when celebrities, they get so many divorces. It's like they're like living the normal life when you weren't like having to ever be committed to anybody.
I know. We were talking to another mom about teenagers and relationships, since this is the Monday parenting one, and I was thinking that I think for us it's so confusing to see relationships change because we know it as one way, and I feel like the girls are much different in relationships, and we don't even know how to tell the boys that they're different and that they are just going to have to figure it out themselves.
And I honestly think like, you can't change this and you can't predict this and you can't make this happen. But I think boys having an older sister or a sister is so beneficial to them because they have an insight. Like, imagine you grew up in a house full of boys, just boys and mom. And I know you guys have this and you got to have your own challenges, just like everyone has their own challenges. But having a sister these days and seeing what girls are like, I know, is really good. Like, if my boys didn't have Taylor, I think they have a lot of insight as to the kind of like powerful women that are being made now.
And the rules that have changed, like the way that like the girls are like interacting and the rules that they like put down of what they accept and don't accept. Like, I feel like girls before, they would wait for someone to tell them that they liked them, or they would have it was just kind of the way it is. And now I feel like they're like, no, he doesn't call me back. I'm done. Like, I'm over this. It's not like hard to get. Like, if he doesn't call you back and he's not texting you, he doesn't like you. And they're like, they're not waiting. It's not like, oh, he likes me sometimes and not. No, they just know. Now they're like, It's like they're so much more farther advanced than even we are if we were to go back on the dating scene.
The one thing they have that's really complicated that I hear a lot about is that there's people that are boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
Then they're talking.
Yes. Situationship.
Yeah. And then there's all these different levels. And I'm like, how do you know when to move to the next? Like, they're so like, someone has to ask to go to the next. I'm like, that's a lot of stages.
But the girl can ask to go to the next step.
Yeah. But still, it's like, oh my God, so many steps. It's so complicated.
Olivia was trying to explain it to Chloe, and I was kind of dying laughing because she was like, oh, so-and-so has a boyfriend. And she's like, are they talking? Like, are they like over? And And Olivia's like, that's called talking. And she's like, no, they see each other like here and then. That's called a situationship.
Yeah.
She's like, it's not a boyfriend until. And I was like, oh, so you have a rule when it becomes a boyfriend and you have to see them 7 times before it becomes a boyfriend. I was like, this is.
Well, I was talking to one teenager and I'm like, okay, so you're talking to them. How long have you been talking? For 2 months. I'm like, when do you know to go to the next? Because your friend has a boyfriend. So did they talk for a while and then go boyfriend, or did they go right away? Like,
and you can talk to lots of people.
Yes.
And then you can also see your snap score matters. So if you have a really high snap score, you're not just, that's bad. You don't want to really, I'm like, your rules are crazier.
That's a lot.
More rules than we ever had.
Yeah. But I love the talking to, because we didn't have talking to where you can also talk to other people.
It's just a known thing.
I would have been chronically in a talking to stage.
And you're allowed to hook up in the talking to.
Exactly.
But you
can also hook up with other people.
Is that crazy?
And it's not like you're cheating.
No. And they're not mad about it.
No.
That's what's even weirder
I
about
know.
it. You can go talk to them.
Uh-huh.
This is.
We had you're dating or you're not.
Yeah. No, you're together. And if you were together, but without even saying you're together, like if you were seen together and you went to talk to someone else.
No, that's cheating.
You are cheating.
Everyone would be like, oh my God, so-and-so was talking to like, they're cheating.
Oh, they're talking to me while they're talking to you. That would have been devastating for us if they were like saying they like 2 people. Oh no.
Oh, devastating.
Devastating. We would have been
so embarrassing.
We would be like, I can't, but you are the worst human ever. Now
Actually,
it's like.
I think it would be better for me now. I'd love to be in a talking to phase.
You would never get out.
No.
Yeah, they can just go and chit. It is.
And then if they wanted to get serious and I'd be like, no, you're checked off that list.
And they know pretty quickly if they're going to go talking. They can talk for, they talk for like a while, but they don't get too deep into it. And then they move into a situationship, which is like, I like you, but like how much, but I feel like the girls know, that's all I know the perspective of right now, is if you get too far into the situationship and they don't become your girlfriend, boyfriend, they're
never going to.
You just kind of let it go.
It's not going to happen.
You're like, if you're fine.
It's like if someone doesn't propose to you for so long, they're probably not going to.
If you're fine with it and they're fine with it, you let it ride. You're like, I don't, it works for me. Like, I don't like them that much. And I'm talking to someone and in a situationship. You can be that too. Talking and situationship, but you can't be boyfriend and talking and situationship. It's exhausting.
You can you can go with a girl sometimes and then a boy sometimes. And it doesn't mean you're labeled anything at all. You just trying things out.
And they're fine with it.
Yeah.
It's good for them. They're so pretty.
Yeah,
they're so, if you're a
fun.
parent right now and you're like this, what are you talking? Yeah, your kids could be in multiple talking to and you would have no idea. Because I hear so many of you like, they don't even know what a girl is. I'm like, okay. And you know how you told me that when you went to a girls' school, you didn't talk to boys?
Yeah.
So I had a friend who went to a girls' school. I remember all we did was hang out with the boys. And I was
Maybe it was the girls' school I went to.
They shared the same space.
Yeah.
I remember all of them.
Yeah.
I remember the parties we would go to at their houses.
I do remember that later. Like I remember and I remember when they got to high school and then they would hang out with them all the time and they ended up marrying them and each other and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in grades 7 and 8,
I remember going to their houses. I remember all of them in grade 7 and 8. I was just thinking of that because I drove through the neighborhood and I was like, there's so-and-so house. And I had a flashback of when we went and I was like, oh my God, they did have such relationships back then.
And I, not to say whatever, but if there was going to be a group that was talking to boys, it would have been us.
And you just didn't. Well, I guess you didn't have cell phones.
Yeah. And we were in an isolated neighborhood. And everybody lived all over the city. When you go to that school, you don't necessarily you come from all over. So yeah, it was I'm really thankful for that time to be so
simple,
sheltered during that time.
7 and 8.
And it was 9 too.
Oh, 7, 8, 9.
We started talking to the boys at 9. And then when I left it, the same guys were their friends. But yeah, 9 too.
You didn't have semis or anything?
Yeah. And I took a guy to a semi, but it's not like we hung out with them all the time. We just knew them. And then we went to the semi with them.
We'll never know if our kids are talking to girls or boys because they do it online. We'll never know idea.
I guess we'll never know.
Unless you check your kid's snap. Hey guys, make sure if you are new here that you check out the Common Parent for the cell phone course as we talk about
dating online.
Because they do a lot of mental health at one of my children's school. And they were saying everyone had to raise their hand of who had screen time limits.
Mm-hmm.
And the expert is like a teen therapist and was like, I'm so glad that some of you have still screen time limits because they're in grade 10. So a lot of them could have been taken off. And she's like, it is a really good thing to have because it's really hard to get out of the app sometimes, especially at nighttime when you are just in a role, and the time can just go by without you even realizing how much you're consuming and what it's actually doing to you, because it's going so fast that your brain can't process. And some of them have to go through and check every single story before they go to bed because they don't want to leave the
things. Yeah.
And if you leave them unread or not unread, and they have to go and respond to everybody. So I was like, it's not, if you have like a grade 10 or 11 and you're like, oh, it's too late. It's not too late because you can teach them how to put in healthy habits. If you have younger kids, it has contracts in there and password forms where you can put down every password they have. So if you need to get into their phone, you can. It's got all the things that you need to know as a parent with kids who have cell phones.
It's the best. It's everything you need to know, and you can go at your own pace, and you can go through it really fast, and you can go through it slow, but you can literally like finish the whole thing in an hour.
Yeah, unless you have to go in and implement everything and add people on, but we go step by step where it's highlighted. And I just thought, if more experts could talk about screen time limits, and because I think some of us who have kids with cell phones now are like, oh, great. But it's not great. It's not too late, because I think they're really marketing this whole like cell phone scare to parents who don't have kids yet with cell phones. We do. It's not too late for us.
No,
we can still get.
It's really fun to do.
We can still get there. Yeah. Like I can see when they've picked up their phone. If I'm like, oh, are they? Sometimes their doors will be closed, and Mark's like, are they awake yet? I'm like, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Pull up my phone. I'm like, they're awake. They woke up at 6:59 or 7:45. They picked up their phone. And you're like, I know them, and I know how many pickups they've checked their phone in a day. I can see how many times they went on Snapchat in the day. You can see everything. It's so beneficial to help them learn how to monitor themselves. Anyways, I thought I would just put that out there because as we talk about chatting and the things you may ruin their lives by putting limits in, but at the same time, sometimes they need the limits because it's like too much interaction of social interaction can also be damaging, especially when they get older and they feel like they have to solve the problem immediately and it's 12 at night. Nothing gets solved at nighttime. You'll wake up in the morning and be like, what was I so stressed about? Everything looks better in the morning.
So you can go to thecommonparent.com and it will prompt you to go and see that, and then subscribing to the CAP and joining the Common Parent. It's everything that you need.
Everything and more.
Everything you need.
We're going to find dresses. You guys will hear this on Monday after the show, and
it'll all be over.
All be over.